Okay, hi everyone. Hi everyone, this is Karine Lopez from DCO. I'm the LAC Regional BOS Coordinator. I just want to make sure you all can hear us. Yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Thank you for confirming. Okay, hi Zamir, hi Vera. Okay, so before we start, well, first of all, I would like to introduce our panelists. Okay, we have Vera Kirienko, which is the asset management specialist for UNDP at New York, and Zamir Fratan, which is the global lead of the business operations strategy in DCO, also in New York. Okay, my name, as I said before, is Karine Lopez. For those who just joined, I'm also with the DCO team. I'm the regional BOS coordinator for Latin America for the LAC region. So as you all know, we're going to be discussing on the UN Common Mobility, okay, which is in a high common impact managed by UNDP, and UNDP is going to be presenting them to us a lot of the benefits and the use of this high impact common service. So please feel free to ask any questions. You can write them down in the chat box throughout the webinar. Okay, Zamir, myself, and any other colleague can also be answering through the chat, or either Vera and Zamir can also answer through the call, through the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, so we'll send an email, okay, later on, and you'll have access then to the recording. You will also have access to the practice notes, okay, that have been created for this common service, which will also be available for you after the meeting. As we go along and as we move forward at the end of the webinar, you'll get a link for a short feedback form that we will appreciate. You can please complete and provide us some feedback on how this went and what are the areas that we need to improve in order to move on. As you know, we have several webinars on high impact common services that are being planned for this month. Therefore, any feedback you can provide to us is welcome for us to be able to improve. Okay, next slide, please. So starting up on the high impact common service, as I explained before, today we're going to be talking about the common mobility, which is managed by UNDP. But first of all, let's see, okay, or let's see a little bit what are the high impact common services and how you can benefit from this, okay, and how this can also support you when doing your BOS. So first of all, okay, we have those high impact common services that provide high cost avoidance. Okay, when we talk about high cost avoidance, this means that they'll have a high impact for you in your BOSes. Once you've selected these impacts, okay, your BOS will be highly positively affected because you're going to have high cost avoidance, okay, in implementing these services. Also, these are services which are of high usage among the UNC teams. We therefore are also very interested to be able to put into place. They also have a high quality improvement. Okay, and as you know, when we look at the BOS and we look at the common services that we want to implement in the BOS, we're looking at cost avoidance and we're also looking at quality improvement. Therefore, having these services in your BOSes that will provide not only a high cost avoidance, but also a high quality improvement is benefit for the efficiencies in your countries and in your agencies. It is also linked to the SDGs, as you've seen from the past webinars we've had. We've had already a series of webinars that were also been given in the past months. Therefore, you see also that standardizing these services or looking more into those which have already been put into place by certain agencies will also improve a quality and are also linked to the SDGs, which is also what the BOS is also oriented. If you recall, when you were developing your BOS, the BOS not only looks at the operation needs, but also looks at your programmatic needs. Therefore, the linkage to the SDG is also very and highly important. It also looks into the good practices. Okay, we have several agencies who have already established common services which have high impact. Okay, we're going to discuss today about the mobility common service for UNDP. And of course, we're learning about the good practices and the innovative practices of these agencies. Whatever the agencies have already learned about implementing these services, well, we're going to be notified or aware of it so we can also benefit, okay, from the good practices of these services. Next slide, please. So first of all, the objectives and the benefits. And I've been saying some of these as I've been discussing. So first of all, we are standardized. Okay, we're taking a service already being implemented, but an agency already has a high impact cost avoidance, has a high impact quality improvement. Therefore, we're looking at standardizing in order that other agencies and other countries can also benefit. Okay, as I said before, maximizes cost avoidance. It also improves the quality and strengthens the SDG integration. And as I also mentioned, it scales up on the good practices. And it's a system-wide data. It's no longer being used by one agency. We can then scale it up to different agencies also and be able to then have a higher impact. Next slide, please. Okay. So how are we going to roll out these high impact services? I believe a lot of you are already asking yourselves this question. Well, first of all, when you are on the BOS platform, you'll notice that these services have already been marked as highly recommended. Okay, so when you see them in your opportunity analysis in the opportunity analysis step on the online platform, you'll notice these services because they're going to be marked with a green ribbon tagged as highly recommended. Also, we are developing practice notes, as I mentioned at the beginning. We'll be sharing the practice note for this common service, for the common mobility, and therefore you'll also have that available in order to implement. We're having dedicated webinars, not only this webinar, which is widely for all the colleagues in the different agencies, but also we're going to have dedicated webinars by countries. Okay, once a country expresses the interest of implementing one of these high impact common services, we're therefore going to have dedicated webinars for these countries. So please feel free to share with us if you're interested in having any of these services. Well, we do recommend you do. So yes, just look into them and see which ones. And therefore, we're going to have then dedicated sessions on this. And dedicated expert support as well. Well, we have here Vera, who's going to be helping us to better understand on the common mobility. We have Samir also here. There's also Luis Diego Cobb, who's also supporting. He's on the back screen today, supporting on all the technical issues. And of course, myself and the other regional BOS coordinators from all the other regions are also going to be supporting you on this. Okay, next slide. And if I'll be okay, so way forward. So if you're currently on your BOS, we have a few countries still developing your BOS. A large number of them have already signed off. But for those who are still developing your BOS, you can include these services, okay, in your current BOS. Now is the moment to look into them and include them. If you have completed your BOS, okay, you can do that in the review phase. As you know, after the 12-month implementation, once your BOS have been signed off, then there's going to be a review phase. So you can start looking into them, okay, start discussing in your OMT, and then add them once we have the review phase. You can also start benefiting from the high income common services. So I think that will be all for the introduction. I don't know if Zamir, you want to add anything before we move forward to Vera. Over to you, Zamir.
Thank you very much, Karine, and welcome to Vera and colleagues who are in this call today. Thank you for joining us for yet another webinar on high impact common services. I think we'll be coming up with more and more services and webinars. So thanks for still being with us out there. Just before Vera present the UNDP fleet management solution, I just wanted to put a disclaimer that we as DCO are promoting all successful initiatives of the agencies, be it on the area of the fleet or like other areas of the high impact common services that you have been with us and we have introduced so far. As you would appreciate and you would have already participated previously in our previous webinars, we promoted at the same level the successful initiative that WFP has as part of its humanitarian booking hub on managing the fleet and collaboration on the fleet, which is accessible to the rest of the UN system as well. Similarly, some countries have initiated approaches to fleet sharing. Lebanon experience would be a joint basically initiative by UNHCR and UNICEF and the rest of the UN country team that you would be hearing about that very soon, and UNDP, which has basically scaled its UNDP fleet management solution to various countries. What we want to do, we want to ensure that the operations management teams are aware of these initiatives to avoid reinventing the wheel, to avoid the situations where you will have to start an initiative yourself while the solutions are out there by some of the agencies. But at the end of the day, if you as operations management team decide to approach to one of these solutions, as long as you collaborate on your fleet, that is good enough for all of us, for the UN system. Eventually, ideally, we would like to see all these great initiatives to come together so that we have a one great UN fleet management solution to be implemented country-wise by all the UN entities, to be utilized by all the UN entities. But that day is not very far. I can already see it coming because these solutions are going in parallel. So please pay good attention to what Vera is going to share with you. Share it with the rest of your teams and the operations management team. Feel free to utilize this service or the services provided by WFP or other agencies or even initiatives of your own country offices. But the purpose in here is to make sure that one, you know what's out there, and two, for you to start collaboration around the fleet, which could bring a huge difference in how the UN is basically operating right now, operating its fleet, and could benefit from this common service utilization. So with that, let me hand over the floor to Vera, and Vera, please take over, and all the best.
All right. Thank you, Zamir. Thank you so much. Let me know if you can see my screen. Is the presentation all right? Good.
Yes, we can see a presentation, UNDP Fleet Management with the logo.
Sorry, just a very quick housekeeping question. Zamir, I can't see the presentation myself. Do you? I can see only the participants.
Okay, I can see the presentation. I guess the rest of the team can see it as well. Luis or Karin, could you?
Yes, I can see it.
Vera, please.
Yes, we can see the presentation.
All right. Okay, good. So
if you prefer, Vera, I can also share from my end. And
I think now is good, right?
Okay,
so
perfect.
Thank you everyone for joining this webinar, and I'm very happy to present UNDP Fleet Management solution, what we designed in UNDP. So UNDP has partnered with Microsoft and the Quest Global to build a solution that brings efficiency and effectiveness in managing UNDP fleets, and also it ensures that our fleet are operated in a safe way. Until recently, our organization honestly didn't have a unified corporate tool to manage or to see how the fleets are managed in different locations and the different scenarios. Some offices did have a system in place, but majority of our offices was relying on a paper-based system to manage their fleets. So in 2019, the project started as a proof of concept, and following a successful adoption by early participants, the project advanced and expanded into the global rollout starting in 2020. And currently we're finalizing our onboarding of all country offices in our BAP regions. So all of them will be participants of our fleet management solution. When designing this solution, we carefully listened to the participants and for their feedbacks. So we included features which were highly requested by them. And in the current rollout phase, the solution provides integrated booking feature and as well as a mobile connectivity. So when we were designing this project, the goals, so to say, that we were trying to achieve and which we are achieving First of all, we are, of course, improving road safety and saving lives by improving drivers' behavior, alerts, incidents reporting, safety of our passengers, streamlining usage of cars, promoting carpooling whenever possible, and thus reducing mileage and overall costs of running fleet management. Automation of business process, reduction of paper document usage, and of course, tracking of our assets and monitoring their usage and performance. And all of this also helps to improve the maintenance practices. And most of all, we're thinking that through implementation of this project, we could influence behavior of our staff and the larger society, and to have a more safe road safety and saving lives. So the fleet management solution connects vehicle to the cloud using industry standard ODB2 dongles, IoT fleet management software developed by Quest and Microsoft Azure. Data is streamed to the cloud directly from the vehicle. Communication is happening primarily through 2G, 3G cellular and Wi-Fi. Data logger, known as a dongle, collects information from the vehicle, and then using cloud components like IoT Hub, blob storage, and a SQL server, it transforms data to our web portal. And on the web portal, data is displayed on the dashboard. And we also utilize Power BI to develop reports for our solution. In our project, we're using two types of dongles. One is the ODB2 port dongle, and another one is a satellite. Both of these dongles is plug and play. They do not require any hard wiring, so you can easily switch them between vehicles if there is a need. Satellite dongle provides connectivity through satellite connection, and our recommended usage for this type of dongle is only when the vehicle is going on a mission in a zone which has no coverage. Mobile dongle has a storage inside, so if the vehicle is running in the areas which has not so good mobile coverage, the information about the trip won't be lost. It will be recorded and stored on the dongle. And once connectivity is restored, all that information will be transmitted from the dongle to the portal. So you still will be able to see the full picture of the trip, even though there were some zones which were not covered by any connectivity. In the mobile type of dongles, we have different types of dongles which are suited for the regular vehicles and also for hybrid and electric. So if you are working towards electrifying your fleet, it wouldn't mean that you will have to replace all of your dongles. We have those which will work for regular and electric and hybrid. So you are well set to just change your fleet, but no need to change your dongles. Platform is available, like I said, is both on the web portal and mobile applications. Mobile applications are available for both Android and iPhone devices. And we also have a geofence feature introduced on our platform, which allows you to set up the boundaries within which the vehicles shall be performing its operations. So this would help you to see alerts whenever your vehicle leaves the set geofence and then returns. Now let's look into the system and the reporting. The system is a role-based. It means that everyone who logins into the system, they will have their own roles assigned to them. Driver and passenger, I think, is well understood or self-explanatory. I want to talk a little bit about tenant admin and fleet owner. Tenant admin, we gave this role to the country office in order for them to have full access to their dedicated space on the platform, so the person could help fleet manager to resolve minor IT questions if there would be any. But of course, the main user of the platform will be the fleet owner, who will run the fleets, drivers, vehicles, and who will approve booking requests and assign vehicles to the requests. Platform allows you to have multiple fleets, so multiple fleet owners can be registered in the system, and they all will have their dedicated fleets to manage. Okay, so let's have a look at the dashboard. That's a landing page when the fleet owner or fleet manager logins into the portal. And with IoT technology, you are able to get a visibility into your fleet like you never had before. The dashboard gives you immediate understanding what's going on with your fleet. All these red dots, they indicate positions of your vehicle in a real time. You can see that information for any fleets that you want, if you have multiple fleets in your country office. And on the right side, you will have a listing of all the vehicles in your fleet. And it will also give you immediate information when the vehicle was last seen on the road. That's the screenshot I prepared to show you the main features of the drill down details on the dashboard. So like we saw before, right? You see all the vehicles in your fleet, and by clicking on this eye sign, you can drill down into detailed information of the particular vehicle and what happened with it during any given date. So what you can see here on the screen is in the center, it's a map with a plotted trip route, and it shows you the start and departing points. So you can immediately see how your trip was happening on the road. And you know, the fleet manager can immediately make a conclusion whether the trip was in the most effective way, or it was, you know, like routing a lot around the city. That little chart with a listing on the right shows you individual trips undertaken by that particular vehicle in a given date. So you will be able to click on any of these individual trips and you will see that detailed information. We're using a Google map, so you will have an option of this little pegman. You can drag it on the map, and then you can switch to a street view if you want to see a more detailed representation of your trip. Another important feature of that dashboard is that it gives you immediate overview into the driving behavior. That little chart at the right bottom, it shows you the safety analysis and gives you a quick understanding of any speeding which happened during the trip. So the red line is a corporate speed limit which we set in UNDP, and the blue line represents the vehicle speed during the trip. So any areas above the red line would indicate the speeding. Also, to have a better visibility of this situation, for example, where the speeding happened during the actual trip, we have a color coding of the trip. So on the map, you see part of the road are marked in blue and part in red. So the red parts indicate areas of the trip where the speed went above the limit. And again, it's very helpful for the fleet manager because even though you have an average speed limit set for your organization, but your trip might happen on a highway, so they would be understandable reason behind increased speed of the vehicle. Like I mentioned before, we utilize Power BI technology to generate various reports. And for example, the safety reports that give you information about harsh braking, harsh acceleration, any possible events or towing events. And it also gives you information about the vehicle's movement inside and outside the geofence. And we found that the safety report is really a must-have for us to evaluate UNDP progress in the implementing road safety announced by Secretary General. So I want to show you a very quick overview of the booking tool. That's a page where users provide information to book a vehicle. Very easy to use, intuitive, and gives you a lot of space to provide a lot of information. Based on the feedback that we received from the early participants, currently the system allows you to book 3 types of requests. One is when you need to book a vehicle with a driver. The second one, when you just need to book a vehicle for self-driving. And the third option is to book a seat on a shuttle, if your office runs the shuttle services. The system provides an option to upload supporting documents. For example, in UNDP, if anyone would want or would need to take a vehicle for self-driving, there shall be proper authorizations in place. So all of this information can be uploaded along with the request, and the fleet manager will have all the necessary information in his or her hands to review and approve the request. We also have a feature to book a vehicle for maintenance. It's primarily to help track how often vehicles are taken out of the operations, what kind of work has been performed on that vehicle, and for how long it was taken out of the operations. There are a lot of space to add additional information. So, for example, if you have multiple passengers, you can indicate it here. If you have luggage for your upcoming trip, so you can provide information here. And you also have a free text to add any additional comments as you wish. All of this information gives sufficient data for the fleet manager to choose a right vehicle for your needs. So we are making it a really user-friendly to improve the customer service when providing fleet services or transportation services to our users. And also another feedback we received from the participating country offices is to have an option to provide chart of accounts. So now it's present here. All the requesters can input the COA information, and all the booking requests, they can be they locked together as a register, and then they can be exported to Excel. So the fleet manager or finance people, they can filter, sort, and crunch the data as they need, and of course prepare a cost recovery. So you can filter all the trips by a particular project if you need, if you provided services for them on a cost recovery, or by user, etc., etc. The system has 2 important self-checks. First is when the user will try to book a vehicle and there is no vehicle available for this selected time slot, he or she will get a pop-up message, and that message will show that the time user selected are already booked, and it will give you suggestion to pick any other available slot. So it's really a help for our users. When the request is submitted, oops, I'm sorry, the fleet manager will receive automated notification from the system, and he or she will have a full information about the request: who asked for the vehicle, where the start, where is the end point, what kind of request is this. And the second automated or self-checking feature implemented in our solution is that the fleet manager would be able to assign only 3 available vehicles. So there would be a drop-down menu which will show all the available vehicles, and this would prevent double booking, so that the fleet manager will not book a vehicle which is already booked for another trip. The good part also of the system is that all notifications, they are happening online. So once you submit a request, you'll get a notification by email that your request has been submitted. Fleet manager will receive notification by email, and the mail will contain a link so that fleet manager can just simply click on a link to get access to the request to see information. And once the request is approved, the notification will also be sent to the driver by email, and the driver will see the complete detail of this particular booking request. All right, and I also wanted to share with you the approval, so to say, and the vehicle occupancy page, which our fleet managers found very, very useful, because it gives you overall status on the vehicle availability in a given day or range of dates. And as you can see, there will be a list of all your vehicles in the fleet, and all these red cells would indicate that vehicle is booked for that particular time during a day. So we use this calendar version to present the vehicle occupancy, which is very helpful for our fleet managers, as they can immediately see how the utilization of vehicles is happening. And for the ease of reference, we also providing a link to the booking request associated with that vehicle for that time, so that if needed, fleet manager can drill down and find more details about the trip associated for that vehicle. And like I mentioned before, all of the information is exportable to Excel, so you can sort it, filter it, and play with the data to suit your needs. All right, and yes, so this was the last slide on my presentation. Would be very helpful to take your questions, and I want to say that implementation and utilization of this solution really helps UNDP to improve its fleet management operations. It's also allowing us to improve our environmental impact, because your vehicle's use is optimized, so less fuel is being used and less emissions are being generated by your fleet. And of course, the visibility that you get into managing your fleets and individual vehicles, and also being able to influence your driver behavior, it's another two important elements which make that system very great. So thank you so much, and over to you, Damir and colleagues. I would welcome your questions about the project and the system.
Thank you, Vera. And colleagues, just to reconfirm that while this is a UNDP product or UNDP initiative, similar to the initiative from WFP and other agencies, this is open for utilization by all the other agencies. UNDP team and us here will remain available to support you if you have a question, if you want to have a dedicated session with your operations management teams to go through the detail of this particular initiative to see if this is the right fit for your basically common mobility services at the country level. So with that, over to Karin, and let's see if there is any kind of questions or comments or feedback from the colleagues.
Okay, well, thank you, Zamir. Thank you, Vera, for the very useful presentation. I think it's very interesting to see how this works, and a lot of our OMTs will be looking forward into being able to implement this. I think fleet management is one of the most strategic, I would say, and also very important services that we have locally. And there's been a lot of concerns, I would say, and also comments from OMTs, at least in my region when I've been commenting about them, of how we are using the resources in all the agencies to go, for example, to the same meeting or to the same place, instead of being able to get together and agree on a way to be using the fleet in a more maximizing the use in a more efficient way. So I'm really looking forward to have fleet management as one of the highest or most useful or used common service in all the regions. So let's see if there are any questions. I don't know if anybody would like to take the mic. Maybe Luis Diego can help us out with this, or if you've wrote down your questions in the chat box.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
is a question. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Luis Diego.
Go ahead if you're reading them.
Okay, so there's a question here that says, okay, but well, it was already answered. What is the time frame for the BOS for the review phase, which was already answered in the chat box? And I don't see any other questions, at least from my side. I don't see any other questions. I don't know if somebody would like to raise their hand. Can we raise the hand in this platform? Sorry, I'm not so go to webinar used to. So you can go ahead and raise your hands, and it will provide. We'll unmute your mic so you can ask your questions.
Sure. And in the meantime, there are a couple of questions. I can go ahead and ask some, and also feel free to raise your hand so you can live direct ask the question. So the first question is from Abdullah Alani. He's saying, how is the cost calculated in the UNDP carpooling platform? So that is for you, Veda.
All right, so I think maybe we'll split that question in two parts. So if you're asking for a question on how much it would cost for you to join the platform, or what's the cost for the provision of the local transportation services. So on the first part, joining the program is very simple. The cost of the dongle is very affordable. We use, like I said, plug and play dongles. So their cost varies between $70 and $180 dollars per dongle. Connectivity happens through the mobile data plan. So the cost will depend on your local situation and how much is your local cost for this data plan. There is also option that if, for example, your local connectivity is not that stable with an individual provider, there is an option to procure global SIM cards, which will give you like a global connectivity, and they will rely on all the mobile providers in your area, so you will have a better coverage. In this plan, the costing depends on country where you're located, because the mobile providers, they split all the countries by like a bucket, and every group of countries will have a different pricing. In terms of system cost, well, I suggest we take it individually, because we would need to know how many vehicles you would want to enroll, the fleets, etc., so that we can negotiate with a Quest on the licensing fee. But again, it will be very affordable, because UNDP won't charge anything for already developed project. We cover this cost from our side. When it comes to the costing of individual trips, which are performed at the local level, they will be, of course, in accordance with the local SLA and the cost established at individual country offices level. Thank you. Over.
Great. Thank you, Veda. Abdullah, let us know if that answered your question, or if there's anything else you'd like to add as well. So there's another question from Lilian Redes. What about the confidentiality of the information? Is it using roles for different users?
That's a very good question. So we take the confidentiality very seriously, and it's integrated through multiple layers in this system. First of all, the system is role-based. So the people who can access the system, their access will be limited and dependent on the role they play in the system. The majority of users would have just a passenger role, and in this case, they would be able to just submit a booking request. They won't get insights into the fleet details. Fleet manager and tenant admin will have the largest access to the system and would be able to see more details. Additionally, to taking into consideration the sensitivity of information collected from the dongles, we currently allow only the use of the official work email to access the system, either from your mobile phone or from web portal. So there is no private device which is using for connection, and you log in through your official, like a login portal of authorizing your entity login information. And the connectivity between dongle and the platform is happening through Microsoft Azure, and it has built-in layers of encryption and data security, so the information stays put and is not accessible to any third party. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Vera. Lilian, let us know if that does answer your question as well. And I know you can't unmute yourself, but I'll send a request if you want to say anything else. You can do so before we move on to the next question. So if you don't, we have another question from Carolina Escorcia. And she's saying, thanks, Viera. Give me a second. So she's saying, thanks, Viera, Samir, and Karine. I would like to understand better if we can use this one or another as...
I think I can take that question, Diego. I think colleagues, as indicated before, at the OMT level, you will need to discuss and decide which platform you would like to use collectively as the UN system, either the UNDP platform or the WFP platform. All of these are UN platforms. The purpose in here is for the operations management teams to collaborate, to initiate collaborations on the fleet, and that's the utmost important point in here. Which platform is more appropriate in the context of your work, which agency is probably there. I mean, these platforms doesn't necessarily need the presence of agency at the country level, because you will be given access to the platform and you would be able to utilize it. There is a good support structure behind this platform to help you at any point of time, but it's up to the operations management team to decide on which platform is the most suitable for utilization. It is also possible, the scenario, that some agencies would initiate their collaboration on the platform run by WFP, some agencies initiate their collaboration on the platform run by UNDP, but and eventually move to the one that is the most cost effective, the most appropriate, the most efficient, and hopefully ideally one day to one platform, as I always dream about. So that I hope answers your question. Diego, I see there's a couple of hands raised. I see Oliver from UNFPA, I see Edgar and Elsa. Maybe we can give the floor to colleagues to raise their questions while you will be reviewing the other questions that you have received in chat box and compile them together maybe. Is it okay?
Definitely.
So
I don't know if you want to start with Elsa.
Sorry, maybe we should go with Oliver and then with Edgar and then take the other two questions after that.
Perfect. So Oliver, I'm sending you an unmute request. You're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Vera, everybody. Thanks a lot for presenting. Quick question. So is this system meant to pool also the vehicles? I didn't understand if, you know, if we're joining this, would that be all in one pool, or is there basically a UNFPA pool and a UNDP pool, and we would all have our own basically fleet managers managing the respective fleets, or would it be just one thing? And then if it's just one thing, how would is there like a billing system in place whereby, you know, if UNFPA uses a UNDP vehicle or the other way around, you know, it offsets each other or whatever? And then just one clarification: did I understand correctly that if I book a vehicle, it first needs to be approved by the fleet manager, or and it's not instant basically, right? I cannot book and take it like half an hour later. It first needs to be approved by the fleet manager, right? Is that understanding correct?
Thank you, Oliver. Very good question. So maybe I'll start from the last one. Yes, that's right. When you submit a booking request, it needs to be approved by the manager. The system allows you a very almost like a last-minute submission, so they still will reach Fleet Manager, and the approval process isn't very complicated. Notifications happening through email system, so actions can be taken very quickly, and there shall not be a problem with approving requests, which are, like for the very shortcoming trip requests. So no issues from that side, but it's given to the fleet manager to better manage the fleets. To answer your next question, the system is very flexible. It allows you to set up the fleets the way that you want. So for example, currently we are using it within UNDP only. So every office just setting their own fleets. If the offices on the ground are interested in collaboration and the fleet sharing, there is an option to set a fleet, and you can enroll all of the vehicles from those different agencies into that individual fleet. And then you can interchangeably use vehicle from any of the organization participated in that particular collaboration. The information about booking request, who booked the vehicle, financial data associated with that request, like the chart of accounts, it's all exportable into Excel, so you can filter it by the agency, by the user, by the project, and you can simply generate the billing request for participant for the cost recovery. And then depending how you want to do it, you either issue individual bills and pay, or you offset depending on the way how you want to set it up. But like I said, system is very flexible. If you, for example, want to join, to have somewhat like a pilot to understand how the system works, we can give you an access. We can set your own fleet, so you will see how this happens. And then once you decide on the joint collaboration, you can just set joint fleet, enroll vehicles from all the agencies into that particular fleet, and then voila, you're sharing and you working together. Thank you. I hope this answers your question, but please do answer any follow-up.
Thank you, Vera. Edgar Nahera, you also have a question. I'm sending you an unmute request. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi. I think my answer has been answered. But I have another one. I'm just not clear on the relation between the World Food Program platform and this one. I mean, eventually, as I understood it, agencies are able to choose between signing up for either platform, but they won't be integrated eventually, or how would that work? Over.
Zamir, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, the platforms are run and managed separately by the agencies. Eventually, like I said, we hope to see these great initiatives to come together. As you have been briefed before, the WFP platform has really nice features in it. So is UNDP. So bringing these two great initiatives together can definitely enhance the usability as well as the productivity and efficiency of these platforms. But at this stage, it's not. It's two different platforms managed by two different agencies, but available to all of the UN system. So it would very much depend on your agencies or your OMTs on which platforms they would like to take this forward with. Out here in the headquarters level, we do engage with the agencies at the corporate level to see how can we basically ensure that we have an ideal platform, a UN platform in the future. But that again would depend on utilization of this platform by the agency. So if you start utilizing any of these platforms, which means you collaborate and sharing fleet, this will prove the concept that the fleet sharing is actually a possibility. It's practical, and then utilizing the service for a while will also give you a sense of how the platform that you're working with is, and eventually maybe in a year or so we could run an independent evaluation to see what are the pros and cons of all these platforms, which one is utilized more by different agencies, which one is giving us which features, and then take a step forward to discuss that at the UNSDG level on the way forward for it. So for at the moment, Edgar, as separate platforms, up to the UNCTs and OMTs to decide.
Thank you, Samir. A follow-up question. I understood that UNICEF is already joining the World Food Program platform. Is that correct?
I wouldn't have that information with me right now, but like I said, the WFP platform, the UNDP platform, or country-level initiatives are happening all around. If agencies would be joining each other in this type of collaborations, it's indeed a positive note. It's a positive approach.
Thanks, Samir. I was just trying to understand the strategy behind behind two platforms, one already being used by UNICEF, at least in Guatemala, UNICEF and World Food Program, and having another one on the ground. So just trying to figure out what would be best in the long run. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Edgar. So we have one last question. We know we're not getting to all the questions, but we will also follow up with a frequently asked questions document answering all the questions that were not answered. We want to make use of the time. So Elsa Kandelman, would you like to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this was a follow-up on Oliver's question earlier, and the answer, which was that there is still a role for the for the fleet manager to approve the transaction, if you will, in the system. And I was just curious, what is the added value of this manual approval in the system? Is it checking on whether some things are like by policy? Like, I was just curious, what is the role of this additional approval in the system? Thank you.
Thank you, Elda, for this question. The additional approval, or the approval from the fleet manager, it has been requested by our offices, and it seems that this gives them the opportunity to have a better control over the vehicle allocation and utilization. And plus, like I mentioned, we allow different types of bookings. So some particular bookings shall require a prior authorization. So in this case, it gives fleet manager a confidence that all necessary approvals, all supporting documents have been provided, and it's very safe to allocate vehicle to the user to perform self-driving request, you know. That's primarily the goals. But there are options. There are options when, I mean, in the different systems that the booking request and pairing of the vehicle happens automatically. But in this case, it was a request from our fleet managers. They were interested to have this feature. Over.
Thank you, Viera.
Thank you.
Yes, did somebody want to say something?
Yeah, Diego, I just wanted to highlight a little bit on the way forward, that in case if, and I can see that in some of the questions as well, that in case if any of the agencies or collectively as OMT, they would like to utilize the service, what would be the way forward for them? How should they approach UNDP in gaining access to its platform and its rollout at the country level? What kind of support structures out there? Maybe Vera, if you could briefly explain that, please.
Yeah, thank you, Zamir. Very good question. And we welcome all the offices to reach out to us to try out the platform so you can really make informed decision what works best for you. So for anyone who would be interested to explore our product in more detail, I suggest please reach out to me or George Pirazze. Our contact details are provided in the note which we designed for our product. But we also can share our emails address at the end of the session. We already worked with our developers to have access arranged to our system for users from other UN agencies. So we definitely can work with you together to show off the system in action and give you some kind of a trial so you can really feel and taste it in action. The easiest way, like I said, just reach out to me and we'll take it one-on-one and we'll help you to go through. Once you enroll, there is always a support from our UNDP fleet management department. The fleet owner and tenant admins, they really know how the system works and they can take any quick question arising on the ground. And we at HQ, we provide a full support when it comes to any problems, technical, which you maybe have on the data, like I don't see that data on my dashboard. So there is a two level of support at the country office and then from us at HQ. The system has video instructions how to do what in the system. So you don't need to read documents. You just need to watch a very lovely short videos. Everything is concise, up to the point, and helps to answer a lot of questions which might come up when you just start using the system. But we are always here to support, and it will be our pleasure to help you, and we would welcome you as a partners in our system. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Vera. Samir, would you like to give any closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you, Vera, for presentation and for colleagues for being with us and joining us. I do see a lot of other feedback and notes from colleagues urging to look into possibility of integrating all these initiatives so that they are also not basically put into a situation to make a decision which platform to go for. At this stage, colleagues, do test at least either two of the platform or one of the platforms, and very soon you will be also hearing about the collaboration that has initiated at the country level in Lebanon. That's also kind of like a mix of what WFP UNDP has, and on topped with some good ways in terms of like legal aspect on how to ensure that each other's vehicles are utilized well. What if there are accidents? What if there are issues that might raise legal concerns? So they have come across some of the answers to those questions as well. We, like I said, we promised to pursue this corporately and see what could be the most appropriate solution in the future collaboratively as one UN fleet approach, but that's going to take some time. For that, do expect that, but it's gonna take some time. But you don't have to wait. Even if you start your collaboration with one more agency and share your fleet and share the service together, that will already improve the quality of the services in terms of like availability of your fleet, timeliness of picking up and dropping off your clients to different places, as well as you will be already avoiding a lot of unnecessary costs in terms of like the fuel, the maintenance, and utilization of the drivers. So do go ahead, initiate this conversation with other agencies or with another agency and start a collaboration, and until we have all of the UN system hopefully coming together under one collaborative approach out there. So thank you very much to Vera, and thanks to colleagues for joining us today.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for having me today. Thank you all.